This is a 1980 Dodge Challenger that's been sitting in this very spot for 15, maybe 20 years. And in the previous episode, which I'm going to put a link in the description, I managed to get this car running. And now I'm going to dig it out of the ground, get it on some jack stands, and see what all it's going to take to get this thing where it can be driven again. Notice anything missing? Finally got it dug out and pulled out. This is the hole it was in, not as quite as big as the one where the Jimmy was. Alright, well, I finally got this thing on all four jack stands and the wheels off. You can see all the dirt and everything that was packed into that. Wow, and this car has disc brakes on the rear. Well, you didn't see that a lot in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And it's still turns pretty good. Let's look at the other one. Yeah, a little bit of dirt there. A whole bunch of dirt on that. I guess it's control arm. It's almost independent suspension with the solid axle. Don't see many of that. But that spins all right. Let's see if we can see any better under here. Yeah, just a lot more dirt. Not too terrible compared to most things we work on. It's not even missing the rubber boot on that. This is not terrible of a shape. Those shocks look aftermarket. I may have replaced those. Yeah, that's grooved. But yeah, I think I'm gonna spray all this down with WD-40 and try and get some of these rocks and dirt and crap out of the suspension. Uh-oh. I wonder how much of a problem that's going to be. I guess the screw wasn't in there all the way and it tried to come out and it was held in place by the wheel. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil in it, and hopefully there's no water in it. Watery. All right, so I got the new oil filter installed, and I can see that already oil is leaking out of the valve cover gasket. That sucks. I put about half a bottle of seafoam in the crankcase, so once we get this going, that can circulate and start breaking up some of that old oil. So got the battery back on it. Got to remember how I wired this up last time, but whenever I put the key on just now, I got the door dinger, and then I tried to start it, and it sounded like electrical sparks and a fire starting somewhere, but I haven't seen it, so either it didn't happen or it's slow burning. This business, I'm not entirely sure what this is. I think it's maybe a fuel cutoff solenoid of some kind. This carburetor is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, but this is supposedly ground, and then this is positive, I guess. I didn't hear anything, but whatever. The key is on, and there was a door dinger. Yeah, I guess the door dinger quits after a while. Let's at least see if it'll crank over. Well, now I got this all tangled up. Come on, get out of there. Okay. There we go. Let's see what happens here. That sounded promising. Let's give it some gas. See if we can't set anything on fire here. Very promising. Finding the float vent, which maybe it's that one, or is that a screw hole? That's a screw hole, I think. Yeah, that's where the top of that goes, or the air cleaner. That's got to be it. I assume that's filling up the bowl and not just going into the intake. Yeah, that sounded like it filled it up. All right, let's see. Well, either we didn't have any oil pressure and that's bad, or the gauge doesn't work. This thing smells like crap. Well, I think we at least got the oil circulated around in there. Maybe. God, man. Emissions on this thing are horrible. Alright, so I looked up some information on this, and the primary intake for the fuel is here. I've got to see what I did with that elbow that goes on there. But this is a vacuum line, I think. And then these two are fuel that go to the accelerator pump. And one of them's intake, one of them's return. So I'm not sure if fuel can just go here and then route to here and then into the bowl. Might have to do something like that, see if that works. And this is definitely a fuel cutoff solenoid, so that has to be powered. I hooked the mechanical fuel pump up to a gas can here on top. Whenever I hit the starter, I don't really get much from it, but whenever it's running, it does pump. I don't know if it's a low pressure pump, so but I fed it into the carburetor main line here, and it's not filling up the float bowl. This was stopped up. I fixed all of that. It may be stopped up internally. The float needle may be stuck. I hit it with a wrench a few times to try and unstick it. That didn't work. So ultimately, I've got to disassemble this and free that float needle. Another problem, this linkage goes on here and links up with that, and there's supposed to be a nut on here. It either fell off and the engine or ground or something ate it, because I can't find it, or it was never there on the first place and everything here finally crept out. So I need to get a nut for that. I've looked all over, can't find it, probably because it's metric. So I still want to see if the automatic transmission works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some vice grips on this, fill up the float bowl with the squeeze bottle, and then either start it in gear or start it and jump in it and slam it in gear and see if, just see if the wheels turn, see what happens. That's on, well, it doesn't have any wheels on it, it's all on jack stands, but I'll see if the hubs are turning. Alright, let's fill up this float bowl with its stuck needle. Alright, I think we're full. Now let's see what happens. Okay. I guess the transmission works. Well, that's what we wanted to find out. The transmission works or not, and it looks like it does. Let me do the same thing, but I guess try reverse this time. Of course, we don't know if it'll shift, but one thing at a time. This thing isn't very fuel efficient either. Man, gas guzzler. All right, one more time here. Damn it. See, it was creeping forward. Now it's going in reverse. Good, good, good. Okay, well, I think the next thing I'm going to do is just take the carburetor back off of it, put a plastic bag or something over the intake, and then I can figure out exactly what size nut I need, take the rest of this apart, free the stuck needle valve or float needle, and I'm still missing some pieces on there. There's an automatic choke, which I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I know it has to be hooked into the coolant system, which is theoretically coolant should have been spitting out of that, but either we don't have any in it or the water pump's not working, which could be another problem we have to fix. But Yeah, I may do like a manual choke or get an electric choke or something, but I think for right now I'm just gonna, whenever I take that off, tie that open and figure out what we need to do about the accelerator pump here. Well, that's going to do it for episode 2. The next episode of this will be the entire fiasco of rebuilding this very odd carburetor. So please subscribe so you don't miss that. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the comments. And if you haven't already, please check out the rest of my videos. I'll put some links in the description, and I'll catch you next time.